Have you ever had a dream so vivid it felt more real than waking life? Or experienced a strange déjà vu that shook you to your core, like you'd already lived this moment in another lifetime? What if you weren't imagining things? What if another version of you, living a different timeline, making different choices, is trying to send you guidance right now? This isn't just a theory, it's a spiritual reality, and the signs are everywhere. If you know how to read them, you're not crazy, you're not lost, you're being contacted. Parallel selves aren't science fiction. They're part of a deeper truth about consciousness, timelines, and the multidimensional you. In this video, we'll break down the real signs that a version of you from another timeline is trying to connect. Why now? Because something big is shifting in your path, and they're here to help you navigate it. Are you ready to receive the message? What if you're already receiving messages? What if the strange moments you've been experiencing lately aren't random? What if the dreams, the nudges, the unshakable gut feelings, and the signs that repeat themselves aren't coincidences, but communications? We live in a multidimensional reality. That means there are multiple versions of you, existing in parallel timelines, living out different choices and paths. Some of these versions are more awakened, more aligned, more aware. And when your current path reaches a pivotal moment, those versions of you may attempt to guide, warn, or align you through subtle, energetic messages. Have you ever had a moment where you suddenly knew what to do without any logical explanation? Or a recurring dream that carries a feeling you can't shake? Maybe you keep seeing the same person, word, or symbol popping up in different places. These aren't just psychological phenomena. They're communication across timelines. In the spiritual realm, time is not linear. All moments exist at once, and consciousness is not bound by the limits of this reality. Your higher self, your soul, and yes, even parallel versions of you can and do communicate with each other. The challenge? Most people aren't present enough to notice. Have you felt like something within you is shifting, even if you can't explain why? Do you sense you're being prepared for something, but don't know what it is? These are often the first signs that a version of you, perhaps a version that already made the decision you're struggling with, is trying to reach you. These versions might exist in higher vibrational states, carrying wisdom and clarity you haven't yet accessed in this lifetime. These messages won't usually come as a loud voice or a burning bush. They're quiet, intuitive, symbolic. That's why presence is everything. If you're caught up in constant mental noise, you'll miss the signs. But when you slow down, pay attention, and begin to trust your subtle perceptions, the messages become unmistakable. Imagine this: a parallel version of you, one who already healed from the patterns you're still breaking now, sees where you are and wants to guide you toward that same liberation. Not to take over, just to assist. Not as an outside entity, but as another face of you across space-time. This kind of guidance doesn't come with pressure. It comes with resonance. You'll know it because it feels different. It stirs your soul, not just your logic. It shows up in synchronicities, mirrored experiences, deep insights, and moments of sudden inner clarity that seem to come from nowhere. The truth is, you are already receiving messages. The question is, are you ready to receive them consciously? As we move through this video, we'll decode the signs that a parallel version of you is reaching out. We'll explore how to listen, how to align, and how to integrate what you're receiving so that your path forward becomes clearer, more powerful, and more aligned with the highest version of who you truly are. This is not fantasy. This is energetic reality. And it begins with one powerful shift: believing that your intuition is real and that you're not alone in your own evolution. You are multidimensional, you are connected, and your other selves are cheering you on. Are you ready to listen? What are parallel selves, and how do they work? You've probably heard the idea that we live in a multiverse, a reality where infinite versions of you are playing out different choices, different outcomes, and different timelines. But this isn't just science fiction. It's an ancient spiritual truth dressed in modern language. You are a multidimensional being, and your soul is not confined to this single version of existence. So, what exactly are parallel selves? In simple terms, a parallel self is another expression of you, existing in a different timeline or vibrational dimension. Each version of you is shaped by different decisions, emotional patterns, and energetic alignments. One version of you might have followed fear. Another might have followed love. One might be living in contraction and confusion. Another might be fully awakened, clear, and aligned with divine purpose. These versions of you aren't just theoretical. They're energetically real, and at times, the veil between you and them becomes thin enough for messages to pass through. Have you ever caught a glimpse of a you that felt strangely familiar in a dream, meditation, or moment of stillness? Ever felt a sudden wave of emotion, clarity, or insight that didn't seem to come from your current mindset? These are moments when your energy field opens to communication with your parallel selves. This isn't about fantasy or escapism. It's about integration, because your parallel selves hold keys to your own healing and evolution. The version of you who already stepped into courage can guide the version of you who still hesitates. The version who chose love can help the one who's still stuck in fear. These are not others. They are you, living in different expressions of your soul's journey. How does this work? It's all vibration. Each thought, emotion, and belief you hold tunes your energy to a specific frequency. And your frequency determines which timeline or version of reality you align with. You're constantly shifting through timelines, often unconsciously, based on your energy. When your frequency rises, through healing, awareness, or inner clarity, you start aligning with higher versions of yourself. These versions can begin to send you insights, nudges, and even energetic downloads. Not through words, but through resonance. You'll feel their presence in your intuitive hits, your gut feelings, your inner knowing. This is also why you might feel torn between two paths, because different versions of you are pulling from different energetic outcomes. That conflict you feel isn't always confusion. Sometimes it's a crossroads between timelines. And while each version of you has free will, your soul holds all of these expressions in a unified field. From this soul perspective, all timelines are happening simultaneously, and your growth in this lifetime affects all the others, just as their evolution can ripple into yours. So why does this matter? Because when you begin to recognize your multidimensionality, you reclaim your power to choose. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances. You realize you're an energetic being capable of shifting timelines, integrating wisdom, and receiving guidance from yourself across space and time. And it all begins with awareness. Can you be still enough to feel which version of you is calling to you? Can you begin to trust that intuition, that dream, that inner whisper that keeps repeating itself? These are not random. They are messages from a version of you that already remembers who you really are. You're not broken. You're not alone. You're not even becoming. You're simply tuning into a version of you that already is. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt more real than your waking life? A dream so vivid, so emotionally charged, that it stayed with you for days, or even changed the way you saw your reality. That might not have been just a dream. It could have been a direct message from a parallel version of you. In spiritual traditions and quantum thought alike, the dream state is seen as a portal. When your conscious mind quiets, your energetic field becomes more receptive. You're no longer limited by linear time, logic, or ego. And in that expanded awareness, communication across timelines becomes possible. This is where your parallel selves can reach you most clearly. So what makes these dreams different from typical ones? First, there's the clarity. These aren't fragmented or random. You may see places you've never visited, meet people who feel familiar though you've never met them, or experience an alternate life, as if you were momentarily living another reality. You might dream you're facing a fear you haven't yet conquered in waking life, or achieving something that seems impossible now. These dreams feel rich with symbolism, emotion, and often a subtle but clear message. Have you ever had a dream where you felt like yourself, but slightly different, more confident, more peaceful, or more powerful? That could be a glimpse into a timeline where you've already integrated those qualities. It's not your imagination. It's you, another version of you, showing what's possible. Sometimes, the message is in the experience itself. A dream may show you what your life could become if you made a different choice, or it may replay a situation from your current life, but in a new way, offering insight, healing, or a resolution. Other times, a parallel self may actually speak to you, guiding you with words or symbolic events. Pay close attention to the emotions you feel in these dreams. Often, they carry more meaning than the images themselves. Why do these messages come through now? Because your frequency is aligning. When your waking consciousness begins to shift through healing, awareness, or spiritual practice, your energy becomes more resonant with higher timelines. You begin to access deeper levels of your soul's multidimensional nature. And as you open, your parallel selves begin to respond. These dreams might also come during times of emotional transition or spiritual acceleration, moments when you're questioning your path, facing fears, or stepping into new potential. In these thresholds, guidance often arrives from timelines where you've already crossed those bridges. These messages are reminders. You are not stuck, and there is a version of you that already knows the way. So, how can you tell if a dream is truly a message? Ask yourself, did the dream feel more real than usual? Was there a clear emotional theme or insight? Did the you in the dream feel familiar, but evolved in some way? Did the dream leave you feeling activated, shaken, or deeply moved? If the answer is yes, then take it seriously. Journal it, reflect on it, sit with it in meditation. These dreams aren't just nighttime stories. They're energetic downloads. Treat them as sacred transmissions from your own soul across dimensions. And remember, your parallel selves are not distant strangers. They are your allies, mirrors, and teachers. The version of you that has already healed, already awakened, already chosen differently. That self is reaching out. Through dreams, they're reminding you of who you truly are and what you're capable of. Next time you wake from a dream that feels like more than a dream, don't brush it off. It may be a message from another you, and the guidance could change everything. Have you ever just known something without being able to explain how or why? Maybe you made a decision that felt instantly right, even though it went against logic. Or you felt a strong urge to avoid a place, call a person, or follow an idea, and later realized it was exactly what needed to happen. That kind of knowing isn't coincidence. It can be a clear sign that a parallel version of you is sending guidance. These moments are often described as downloads, gut instincts, or intuitive hits. But deeper than ordinary intuition, they feel like truth emerging from within you, bypassing doubt, thought, and explanation. It's not a guess. It's not an emotion. It's certainty without evidence. And in many cases, it's your consciousness momentarily merging with that of a parallel self, one who has already lived through a version of the moment you're about to face. Think about it. If there are infinite versions of you across infinite timelines, then some of those versions have already made the decisions you're contemplating now. They've already succeeded, failed, chosen love, chosen fear, walked away, taken the leap. That knowledge exists. And when your vibration aligns, it becomes available to you. Have you ever felt like you remembered something you never experienced? That could be a memory from another you, one who's already lived that possibility. These sudden knowings often show up in key moments. When you're at a crossroads and clarity arrives from nowhere. When you feel pulled toward or away from something with no rational explanation. When someone speaks and you instantly read their truth beyond words. When you get a vision, phrase, or idea that feels like it didn't come from you, but is for you. Why does this happen? Because in higher states of awareness, meditation, surrender, emotional intensity, or synchronicity, the veil between timelines becomes thinner. You become more permeable, more receptive to the nonlinear information constantly surrounding you. And sometimes that means a parallel self sends you insight that can alter your current path. This is especially true when you're shifting your identity, when you're shedding an old version of yourself and stepping into a higher one. The mind may resist, but your soul already knows what comes next. That knowing is the resonance of your own future echoing backward to support you now. But here's the challenge. In a world dominated by logic, many people dismiss these moments. We're taught to distrust what can't be measured. So when your soul speaks, your mind might label it coincidence, imagination, or irrationality. But ask yourself, has your logical mind ever led you in circles? And has your inner knowing ever whispered something that proved to be right? Your parallel self may not use words. They send resonance, a flash of clarity, a vibration of certainty, a signal that says, this way. It bypasses the noise and reaches you where only truth can live, in your body, your intuition, your field. To better receive this guidance, you don't need to try harder. You need to listen deeper, cultivate stillness, honor your instincts, trust the no that rises in your gut, even when everything says yes. Trust the yes that lights up your heart, even when your brain can't explain it. When you follow this kind of knowing, you're not just making a decision, you're aligning with the timeline. You're anchoring into a version of reality where your soul is already more whole, wise, and awake. That version of you is reaching out saying, I've been here, I've seen this, follow me. And when you do, things begin to shift. Doors open, energy flows, the right words arrive, synchronicities appear, not because you forced anything, but because you stepped into alignment with a version of yourself that already knows the way. So next time you feel a truth rise inside you, fast, silent, and sure, don't second guess it. It might be your parallel self whispering, you already know, just trust it. Have you ever been overcome by a sudden wave of emotion, one that made no sense in the moment? Maybe you were sitting in silence and felt a deep sadness arise without cause, or walking in nature and, out of nowhere, a sense of joy or longing flooded your chest. No memory, no event, just emotion, raw and real. These are what we call emotional echoes, spontaneous feelings that seem to emerge from nowhere. But what if they're not from nowhere at all? What if they're bleeding through from a parallel version of you, living another timeline, experiencing something so profound that the resonance crosses dimensions? In multidimensional reality, everything is connected. Time isn't linear, it's layered. You don't just live one life, you live many lives simultaneously, across timelines, probabilities, and outcomes. Some of those yous are ahead of you, some behind, some making completely different choices. And sometimes, the emotional charge of those choices is so strong, it vibrates through the veil and reaches you. Have you noticed these signs? Feeling grief in a moment of joy, as if mourning something you can't explain. Experiencing love so strong it feels like it doesn't belong to this world or this moment. Having waves of nostalgia for a life you haven't lived. Feeling anger or fear suddenly, when nothing triggered it externally. These aren't always from your direct experience. They can be messages from your other selves, signaling key moments, crossroads, or shifts in energy that matter to your soul's journey. Think of it like an emotional radio, and sometimes your tuner picks up the frequency of you on another station. Why would this happen? Because you and your parallel selves share the same soul core. When your emotional body becomes open, during meditation, transition, vulnerability, or even while resting, you're more receptive to that shared frequency. You may not see the other version of yourself, but you feel what they're going through. Some of these emotional echoes are calls for healing. A part of you still trapped in a painful timeline reaching out for resolution. Confirmation, a sense of joy or peace that says, "You're aligning with me." Warnings or wake-up calls, feelings that jolt you, asking you to pay attention. Integrations, you absorbing growth or insight from another version of yourself. Have you ever cried during a dream that made no sense, but still felt so real you carried it all day? Have you ever stood in a place for the first time and felt deeply emotional, like you'd been there before or lost something there long ago? You're not crazy. You're connected. In fact, emotional echoes are often stronger than mental downloads. Thought can be filtered, doubted, dismissed. But emotion is primal. It doesn't wait for your permission. When it hits, you feel it. That's why your higher self and your parallel selves often communicate through feeling first. So how do you respond when these echoes arrive? First, don't judge or suppress them. Let the emotion flow, even if you don't understand it. Ask gently, is this mine? Is this something I need to release or integrate? Is there a message here? Sometimes simply witnessing the feeling without resistance allows the message to unfold. Next, create space for reflection. Journaling, stillness, or grounding practices can help you anchor the energy and gain clarity. You might receive flashes of insight, symbolic images, or just a shift in perception that wasn't there before. That's the other self merging with you. And perhaps most importantly, don't fear these experiences. They are signs of your expansion. The more emotionally sensitive you become, the more your field is aligning with higher dimensions. It's not weakness, it's multi-dimensional intelligence. You're learning to feel across timelines. You are not alone in this lifetime. There are many versions of you, and some are reaching across space and time, offering wisdom through the most human channel possible, emotion. So the next time your heart stirs without reason, don't brush it off. Pause, feel, listen. It may be a version of you whispering through your chest, "I'm still here. I remember. I need you to feel this so we can move forward together." You glance at the clock, 11:11, again. Then someone says something that mirrors your thoughts exactly. A song starts playing that perfectly reflects your mood, your question, or a memory from earlier in the day. Coincidence? Maybe. But after a while, it becomes hard to ignore. Synchronicities are more than just chance. They're winks from the universe, breadcrumbs dropped along your path to catch your attention. But in the case of parallel selves, these synchronicities often carry an even deeper layer. They are clues from another version of you, nudging you toward alignment. Have you ever had moments when reality seems to arrange itself with uncanny precision, and you feel like it's personal? That's because it is. Your parallel selves, existing in alternate timelines, share the same higher self as you. And while their realities might look different on the outside, the core themes, lessons, and soul contracts often overlap. When one version of you makes a powerful shift or hits a crucial moment, the ripple can show up in your world as synchronicities. Think about it. Repeated number sequences like 111, 222, or 434. Random strangers delivering messages you needed to hear. Objects, names, or phrases showing up multiple times in one day. Unexpected coincidences that feel oddly aligned with something internal. Do any of these feel familiar to you? Do they feel designed more than accidental? That's because some of these synchronicities aren't random patterns. They're communications across timelines. They may be your higher self coordinating between multiple versions of you, or even a parallel self transmitting signals in the form of events, symbols, and patterns. These clues are meant to guide you, alert you, or validate that you're moving in sync with your soul's evolution. So, how do you recognize the synchronicities that come from your parallel self? They often appear during moments of emotional intensity, times when you're questioning, breaking patterns, or feeling lost. They feel charged, like the world just spoke to you, not around you. They repeat, not just once, but again and again, until they get your attention. They're often symbolic, carrying deeper meanings tied to your soul themes. A synchronicity might mirror something a version of you is currently facing, and by recognizing it, you have the opportunity to course correct, deepen, or activate a latent potential in your current timeline. In other words, synchronicities are activation points. Ask yourself, what was I just thinking or feeling before this sign appeared? What decision am I about to make that this might be pointing toward? What version of me might be trying to remind me of something right now? These clues are not just external signs. They're energetic keys that unlock memory, intuition, and inner alignment. Your job isn't to overanalyze them. It's to notice them with presence, to feel their emotional charge, and to allow the insight to arise naturally. Here's the deeper truth. When a synchronicity strikes you deeply, it's often because another version of you has already walked a path you're just beginning. The signal comes from that reality as if to say, follow this. It leads somewhere meaningful. You're not just getting signs from guides, angels, or the cosmos. You're receiving signals from yourself across dimensions. It's like a future self saying, I remember this moment. It matters. Pay attention. The more you listen, the more the synchronicities unfold, one after another, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. So next time something coincidental stops you in your tracks, don't rush past it. Don't write it off. Feel into it. Track the thread. Let the sign do its work. Because that clue might not be random at all. It might be you, whispering across timelines. This is where your path begins to shift. How to strengthen the connection with your other selves. If signs and synchronicities are the invitations, then your next step is learning how to actively tune in to the versions of you that exist beyond the veil of this timeline. Because yes, this connection can be strengthened, deepened, and consciously cultivated. But the key is learning to listen, not just with your mind, but with your energy. So how do you open that channel more clearly? First, it starts with recognition. You must begin to accept the possibility, not just as a concept, but as a felt truth, that you are not the only version of yourself experiencing reality. You are one thread in a much larger web of you. Some versions of you made different decisions. Some followed paths you've only imagined. And some are further ahead in healing, purpose, or mastery. Others may still be caught in loops you've already left behind. But all of them are accessible through inner resonance. Here are 5 powerful ways to consciously strengthen this inner dimensional connection. 1. Silence and stillness. Your other selves communicate through subtle energy, not loud noise. They speak in intuition, emotion, image, or inner knowing. That means your first task is to slow down, to create inner stillness, so that the signal can rise through the static. Start with short periods of meditation or silence daily, not to do, but to attune. Ask gently, what part of me wants to speak today? And just listen. 2. Journaling with intention. Set the intention to write from a version of yourself that has wisdom for you now. Start the page with a prompt like, what would my parallel self who already lives my higher path say to me today? And then write without censoring. You might be surprised at how clear, deep, and aligned the messages feel. This is one of the simplest ways to channel multidimensional guidance. 3. Dream work and lucid dreaming. Dreams are one of the most fluid states where timelines overlap. Before sleeping, set an intention. I am open to connecting with another version of myself who has a message for me. Keep a journal by your bed. Often you'll receive symbols, encounters, or entire dream narratives that reflect choices or paths your other selves are living. The more you remember and track them, the clearer the communication becomes. 4. Mirror work and identity. Activation. Your parallel selves live in specific frequencies of identity. Want to access the version of you who already embodies more purpose, power, or peace? Step into it. Stand in front of the mirror and declare out loud, I now call forward the version of me who, insert the quality or trait. Speak to yourself until you feel the shift. This isn't pretend. This is resonance, and resonance is the language of timelines. 5. Follow the pulls and obsessions. Ever felt an inexplicable urge to learn a skill, visit a place, or change something about your life without knowing why? These impulses often come from parallel selves whose choices are bleeding into your awareness. When you follow the pull, you begin to align. Ask, what part of me already lives this reality? The more you act from that place, the more the connection strengthens. But here's the secret. You don't have to force anything. This connection isn't built with control. It's built with curiosity, openness, and inner attunement. Your job is to become sensitive enough to feel when another version of you is nearby, and open enough to receive. So how do you know it's working? You'll begin to experience rapid inner insights that feel borrowed from another life. Moments of profound alignment where everything clicks. Shifts in personality, interests, or priorities, as if a new layer of you has landed. A sense of déjà vu, but deeper, as if you've already walked the path you're now choosing. Increasing synchronicities that confirm you're not imagining this. Ultimately, this is not about fantasy. It's about energetic alignment. You are not separate from your other selves. You are a multidimensional being learning how to tune in. And when you do, you gain access to wisdom, healing, and guidance that goes far beyond what this version of you can grasp alone. So the next time you feel a nudge from within, a flash of insight, or a wave of emotion that doesn't quite fit your current reality, pause. Ask, is this me or another version of me trying to help? Because connection begins with the willingness to believe that you are already in conversation across timelines. If you've made it this far, it means something deep inside you already knows. There's more to your reality than what your five senses reveal. The recurring signs, the vivid dreams, the inner whispers and strange coincidences, they're not noise. They are signals, echoes, clues, messages from other versions of you that exist across timelines, dimensions, and possibilities. And here's what you need to truly feel, not just understand. You're not alone in this journey. There are parallel versions of you walking alongside your current life path, not metaphorically, but energetically. These selves aren't distant fantasies. They're expressions of your multidimensional nature. And while it can be overwhelming to even grasp that, the truth is, they've been reaching out all along. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I don't know why, but I feel like I've lived this before? Or, that dream felt so real, like it was me, but different. Or even, I suddenly know exactly what to do, but I don't know how I know. These aren't accidents, they're connections. As you awaken to the reality of parallel selves, one of the biggest shifts is realizing that your growth, your evolution, and your healing don't happen in isolation. Each step you take toward clarity, alignment, and purpose ripples across dimensions. When you heal, you help another version of you heal too. When you break a pattern, you free someone who couldn't. When you align with your higher path, you create a magnetic pull that uplifts other timelines. This is the unseen sacred cooperation of soul across time. And likewise, sometimes you're the one receiving that help. That surge of strength out of nowhere when you were about to give up. That spark of intuition that guided you in the right direction. That unexplainable calm in the middle of chaos. Those moments might be the energetic hand of another you, reaching through the veil to support your journey. Because on some deep level, you're all rooting for each other. So how do you move forward now? You trust. You trust that the signs are not random. You trust that your soul knows how to navigate. You trust that you are seen, guided, and supported, even when you feel lost. This path of connecting with your parallel selves is not about escaping this life. It's about enhancing it, grounding your multidimensional wisdom into this now. It's about becoming the version of you who remembers, who listens, who acts with presence and power because they know they're not walking alone. And when things get hard, as they sometimes do, remind yourself, you're not the first you to face this moment. You're not the only you holding the vision, and you are never, ever without support. Every synchronicity is a breadcrumb. Every emotional echo is a reflection. Every flash of insight is a transmission. And every quiet nudge is a call, not from somewhere far away, but from you, across the infinite field of your own being. So don't ignore the signs. Don't second-guess the inner voice. Don't write off your dreams, because you are more than this single version of self. You are a chorus of timelines, a constellation of lives, all converging right here in this sacred now, to remind you you're not alone, you never were.